review for Mid90s. And what Mid90s essentially about is we center on the character of Stevie. He is someone who coincidentally grows up in the time period that the movie is named after, and he has a very challenging life. He has a very sort of contentious relation with his brother. Him and his mom aren't getting along very well. He just very much feels like an outcast. This is until he stumbles upon this group of guys who basically, they really don't do anything except talk. They smoke and drink, and they love to skateboard. And despite the fact that they are very much older, Stevie very quickly starts to feel like he's a part of their group. But as the film goes on, he starts to realize that he may be getting himself into some truly dangerous territory, and that's really all I'm going to say. So Mid90s overall, I was really excited for this film, not just because of the fact that it is a directorial debut from Jonah Hill, because, you know, that is definitely something that immediately had me on board. I mean, Jonah Hill is not someone that I would expect to tackle this type of material. And of course, A24, I mean, you guys know how much I've relished over A24 at this point. I think they are truly the best distributor working today. You know, when they have been so consistent in terms of their films lately, and, you know, definitely that had me excited. But also because of the premise, I was very excited to see how this film was going to be tackled. There were a lot of things that very much seemed like it was going to intrigue me, and we've been having a really great slew of coming-of-age films, and I'm very happy to report the Mid90s is definitely another hit from them. I mean, this is a fantastic film that is very much about the loss of innocence and things like that, but we're just getting to right now, starting off with the cast. And right off the bat, that is one of the things that I truly loved about this film. I think really everyone is really great here. For me, though, I really do want to talk about Sonny Suljic, who I've always been a fan of as early as The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I thought he was great in that last year, but he really brings it on another level here. What I really love about the character of Stevie is that he's not necessarily the most likable kid in the world. He can be very bratty. He can be very stubborn in that way, but he's someone who really doesn't know what he's getting himself into. He's doing a lot of things that kids his age just simply shouldn't do. He's involved in some really dangerous stuff, and I really do love the way Suljic did go about this. He never goes about it in a way that feels fake. He never goes about it in a way that feels annoying in that way. He's someone that you really do find yourself intrigued by, and I really did love where they ended up going with his character overall. I thought he was very good in the film, and I am very excited to see what he does do next year, because I thought he was really phenomenal here. And then Lucas Hedges once again gives a really great performance as his older brother, who at first he tends to be like the villain of the film, but you can very much see that his brother is also coming from a place of love. He just expresses it in a different way. He's someone who's really trying to get through Stevie's head what he's fully gotten himself into, and a conversation between the two I actually found to be one of the best scenes of the entire film. I really did love their relationship a lot, and I think he did do a very good job here, even if he isn't in this movie as much as I really would have wanted him to, which I'll get into a little bit later, but I really did like what he did here a lot. Katherine Waterston, I thought, also was very well casted here as Stevie's mother, who, once again, he doesn't have the greatest relationship with, but she's trying to set him on the right path, and I thought there were a lot of really great scenes with her, even if, once again, she's not in the movie as much as I expected her to. I did like what she really did end up doing here. And then the rest of the members of the skateboard gang, I thought all were very well casted, and most of them aren't even really actors. Most of these guys, from my understanding, are in fact, I don't know if they're professional skateboarders, but they're certainly not actors, and the best of all is easily Na-Kel Smith. I thought he was incredible in this movie. I really love where he ended up going. Without getting too much into his character, he's someone who is basically the most level-headed of the entire group. He actually does have direction in his future and things like that, but really all the guys here, I really loved the chemistry that they had with Stevie. They work very well here. You really do find yourself caring about all of them, and that really is due to the acting here. I really loved the way that I really thought everyone was very well casted here, and I really loved pretty much everyone in this film. But now I really want to get to the directing and the writing here, and the directing by Jonah Hill, I think, is fantastic, because the way he goes about this film this film can be a lot of fun. There is definitely a lot of comedy here, and there were a lot of moments that very much did make me laugh a lot. I mean, some of the funniest moments in this of the year, I think, are in this movie, and I think he did a very good job with that. But he's also coming from a place of realism. He's trying to capture the 90s as accurate as possible, and I think he did that very well here. I really loved his tone here. It never really felt like it was clashing. The comedy doesn't feel like it's at the expense of the drama, but the drama also doesn't feel like it's overpowering the comedy, and I thought, like I said, those two elements worked very well here, and I really love the way he was able to construct this film, but also the screenplay. And a lot of people may not know this, but Hill is actually very familiar with this. In fact, in many ways, this story, I think, is loosely based on his life, because he grew up in a place where, he knew a lot of people that are like the characters that Stevie does end up, befriending in this movie. And I think he did that in a very good way. But because of that, he also constructs these characters so well, specifically when it comes to the character of Stevie. He does such a good job in the beginning of this movie of fleshing out his character, showing who Stevie really is, showing that he just doesn't really fit in with his surroundings, and eventually, he's given this opportunity to work, to befriend these boys and to become part of their group. And even though he's not like them at all, that's why he really enjoys, blending in, and that's why he really wants to be part of their group. There's a great scene in this movie of him not being able to skateboard and him just trying to get better at it just so he can impress them, and I just thought it was very real in that sense. You really do find yourself connecting with Stevie, and again, despite the fact that this character at points is doing some things where you're like, no, don't do that. Why would you do that? There's so many times you might find yourself like shouting at the screen because of things that Stevie does get himself involved in, and I think, like I said, overall they did a very good job with fleshing out his character here. But the thing that really impressed me the most about Mid90s is the way it goes telling the story. Because in most instances, when you'd have a story like this where a character meets a shady group of people, they would try to villainize them. Mid90s, on the other hand, tries to humanize these group of guys. And at first, they're more in a silly manner, where, oh, these guys are simply just idiots, and they're saying all this sexist stuff and all this stupid shit, but there always is a sense of humanity there. You get the sense that these guys are just kind of lost, and that a lot of them are just very unfortunate, and that they don't really have much direction in their life. But skateboarding is their outlet. Skateboarding is the thing that gives them that sense of purpose. And through this conversation with Na-Kel Smith that he eventually has with Stevie, you really start to understand who these group of guys really are. Things that come off as funny at first, you quickly feel terrible for laughing at. You're like, wow, why would I have laughed at something like that? Why is this, this is a much more, this is a much more complex issue than I really could have expected. And I think they did such a good job with fleshing that out. And that's not something I could have expected. I especially did not expect a character like, say, Fuck Shit. Yes, that's literally his name in the movie, Fuck Shit, to actually be fairly complex, but that's kind of the case. There's a lot of characters in here that are just like that. And I think they did a very good job with fleshing them out and getting as much mileage, even though it has a very short runtime. And that was something that I was overall very impressed with. I was really surprised as well with how dark the movie was willing to get, especially in its last 20 minutes. It actually does get very, very serious, and that's not something that I was really expecting, again, especially considering how fun the first half of the movie really is. And for some people, it could become uneven, where it's like, oh, the first half of the movie's like this, and then the last 20 minutes is like this. What's up with that? For me, though, it made sense, because when he's first meeting this group of people, it's very casual and it's very fun. But as he starts to, entrench himself forward into this group, he starts to realize that these group of guys are very complex, and that there's a lot of things that he's getting himself into that he doesn't fully understand. And again, I just really loved that extra dosage of trying to flesh out all these characters, and I think they did a very good job with that overall. And the skateboarding in this movie, while it is not the most impressive ever, again, you get the sense of what it really does for these friends. It gives them that sense of purpose. It really is their aesthetic. It drives them as characters, and I really love seeing them. It's especially when we have that moment between Na-Kel Smith and Sonny Suljic that I was referring to, that you really do understand what the skateboarding is all about and why it is so important to them, and I really did love that a lot. But something else that I really love about this movie is its cinematography. The way the movie is constructed, it feels like it's ripped right out of the 90s. The title really is no mistake. The movie really, you forget that this is a film that is from someone that grew up in the mid 90s, and you feel as if you're watching a movie from the 90s, down to its 16.9 aspect ratio, which, yes, that is for the entire film, but also the way it looks, just everything about it, the music choices, everything really does feel like a 90s film, and I think that Hill did such a great job with constructing that. I really love the way that was done, and some people might also be worried about the and going back to that score in the movie is probably one of my favorites the entire year. Trent Reznor did such a great job with the score in this movie. It's very dramatic, but also gives you a sense of emotion, and I just really loved what he did with the score overall. And the editing, some people might be worried about the runtime, and yeah, it is quite short, but don't think that because it's short that the movie comes up short, because like I said, I really do feel we were able to get as much mileage out of these characters as we could in under 90 minutes, and that's a very hard feat to pull off, but Hill just goes for it, and I think he really did a great job with that overall. I was very impressed with the way with how much we were able to get out of so little, and I was very happy with that. That being said, that's really where my only gripe with the film comes in, and that is that while I do think the film, for the most part, does a very good job of fleshing out all of its characters, there is a bit of untapped potential when it comes to the family side of the film, especially with that conversation between Lucas Hedges and Stevie that happens a little bit later on. It just felt like there was a little bit more to that character than we really could have gotten. And I know, you want to infer things and things like that, but I think there just could have been just a little bit more to those two characters, his mom and his brother. But other than that, this is a nearly perfect film that I really did love a lot. I think Hill really did a phenomenal job with constructing what is essentially, I think, very much a lifetime achievement for him. This is very much sort of like a passion project, and I think it really did pay off. It is a story that we've seen done before, but it tells a story in a way that feels fresh. It feels exciting, and it finds a way to bring empathy to these characters in a way that you really wouldn't expect, and that's really why I loved it as much as I did. Sonny Suljic is going to be a star after this movie, no doubt about it. He is definitely going to be in a lot of things from here on out. Overall, guys, I really love Mid90s a lot. It is definitely one of my favorites of the year, and I am going to give Mid90s overall an A. But overall, guys, in my review of Mid90s, let me know what you guys saw this movie overall, love your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.